90 KXSS, Dave O, John Holler with you live this afternoon in the Played Again Sports Studios. Joining us now on the telephone, the head coach of the St. Cloud State men's hockey team, Bob Motzko. And Coach,
number one rated St. Cloud State Huskies.
That's old news. We know they're number one.
But
they've always been number one to me.
They're staying there.
We're one of 16 teams in the NCAA tournament, Huskies.
You know, last weekend, Coach, at the Frozen Face-Off, I watch the games on TV, and typically I'm at the arena, so I don't watch a lot of Husky hockey on TV. But that Friday night game against North Dakota, to me, it looked like one of the more crisp games that you guys have played all season. Is that fair?
Yeah, I thought, when they're crazy, I'm going to go to the end of the game, I thought it was one of the better games we played, and we were on the verge of losing the darn thing. And that tells you playoff hockey and how it can be. But you know, the first 40 minutes we were dialed in and playing very good hockey. Got ourselves in penalty trouble in the third period, and you know, North Dakota was able to tie it on that. We took 3 penalties in the first 10 minutes, and they tie it up. And it was a dogfight to the end, and we kind of got on our heels, which you will in a tight game late. But then in overtime, we started to play again. It didn't take long before Nick Bailey got the goal, and it was a great game for us. We played pretty well all weekend. I'm happy how we played.
It just seemed like a really sweet vibe down there at the X, because it seems like that's where your tournament belonged all along. And do the guys get a little amped up when it's that atmosphere?
I think there's no question there was a great feel being back in St. Paul. I mean, that's really, you know, especially for the local kids that understand the history in St. Paul and you know, state tournament, and of course, obviously the Wild, and then the old tournament we had. And this was a good year, first year to be back down there. You get North Dakota, St. Cloud, and Duluth. You get the 3 local teams that we had very good crowds for the first year. And I think, you know, and it took a while for the old WCHA to grow. And that's the hope is, you know, I think we signed a 5-year contract there. It was great hockey. And, you know, let's see if we can get college hockey going again in St. Paul. So if that's our first taste, everybody's very excited about what we could have down there.
My first question is, what do you think about advanced statistics and that sort of thing? I can't figure them out for the life of me. I always go with the eye test. What about you as a head coach? Is that something that you've had to kind of tackle here in the last few years?
Yeah, we follow it, but I think, I mean, you can't help but try to pay attention to it. But then I think what happens to some of us is you gravitate to the things that you really look at with advanced scouts and the numbers. And, you know, the old-fashioned grade A scoring chances is still number one that gives you the greatest indication of how your team is playing from an offensive and defensive standpoint. But what we probably utilize more now than anything before was really time on ice and really understanding how your team and how players play, you know. I'll use Ethan Prowl as an example, because Ethan's gone, or All-American for us. We had his minutes. We couldn't go over a certain minute mark. If we kept him at the right minute mark, that's when he was an All-American. But if we got in games where we started to stretch his minutes, it would wear on him. And I think that's probably one of the more important numbers that I think we're tracking right now. When your team's at its best, you know, and you got to have game after game after game of that data to come back, and there's truth in it. You know, there's 60 minutes to divvy up, and when your team's at your best, how are those minutes divvied up? So it gives you a little bit of an insight there.
With that being said, some of the advanced statistics said that you outplayed Denver on Saturday, despite, 4-1 doesn't sound good. It was obviously a much closer game if you watched it, but did you feel like it was that close?
It was a very close game. You know, we had to chase it. That's what the problem was. We had a great first period, and actually when we watched it back, we were even better on tape than I thought, but yet we were down 2-0. And you know, unfortunately, they scored like 3.5, 4 minutes in. It was, you know, a harmless play that came in. Our goalie made the save, but it ricochets out, and then it bounces off 2 or 3 bodies, and then you don't even really see how it ends up in the back of the net. But that's hockey. We're down, and then I give Gillette, their goalie, credit. We had some outstanding chances, and Mikey just missed. He beat him cleanly on a play inside, and just missed the pipe by a half an inch where he had missed. And then, unfortunately, we get a power play. We had great looks on it. With 5 seconds to go, though, I think it was kind of an unfortunate goal that got let in for us. And where they scored with 5 seconds to go on I think a goal that should have been brought back. But we're down 2-0, and there we are. We are chasing the game the rest of the way, and Denver played lockdown defense, intense. Second period wasn't a great period for us, but third period we were back in our game, and we finally scored, and we were making it, and then they pop another one, and it was over. That's a team you don't want to chase. You want to be, have the lead by one or tied and take it to the ropes, because it's a heck of a hockey team and a championship game.
Now, I'm kind of new to this selection process, and it seems to me that all year the teams from your conference, the Minnesota teams, were all good. Is this something that happens every year where they stick all the teams that were from the same conference in one half of the region, or the bracket, so it kind of guarantees that there will be a team from your conference, or from, because you got, like, in your little 4-team pod, you've got UMD, Mankato, and you, all three Minnesota teams in one half of one pod of the bracket, and it seems like all the teams in the Eastern region are teams from the East. Is that something that happens every year, or is that something that's new this year, and it seems kind of unfair to me?
No, it's okay, guys, and I'll give you a little. They go by the numbers, but the numbers are the first thing they look at, and after the numbers are all sitting there, then you can all do this. And there were the two websites that kind of put out the projected brackets. One had one way and one had this way, and it was really only changing 2 games. And it was the way the numbers worked out. Mankato and Duluth were playing each other, and they're 2 different conferences, and there's 2 Minnesota teams. If the numbers wouldn't have worked, Duluth would have been playing someone else. But that's the way it was. And then the true matchup for us should have been Michigan and Northeastern. The 8-9 usually goes with the 1. Well, to keep them east and to keep the 2 Minnesota teams west is logical, and that's one of the things that they can do and have done in the past. So I think what they did is normal, because then now as the coach sitting here, pick your poison. I mean, if first and foremost, we are only looking at one game, and that's Air Force, and that's probably where I want to turn the conversation. And I think it turns out to be a great bracket, because we're going to have good crowds there, and it's a remarkable building. It's a beautiful setup. It's a great city. But I have heard the Division II basketball men and women's national tournaments go on at the same time, so hotels are a little tough right now. But it's going to be a great tournament. But our focus has to be on Air Force. This is Frank Serratori's the coach there. It's the 7th year that they've won the league championship to get in the NCAA tournament. And they've beat Michigan 2-0. They beat Western Michigan last year 5-4. Every game is either overtime of the other 6 tournaments or then tight. And somebody said, well, you're just giving that coach talk. No, it's black and white. We put it up on our board. Whether they played Miami or Michigan or Boston College or Vermont, because they're always playing a higher seed when they get in. These guys aren't intimidated or afraid of anything. We are in for a battle Friday afternoon at 3 o'clock with Air Force, and we've got to convince our guys of that, and they know it now. We've hammered that point home, and now the rest of the week just getting ourselves ready for how we're going to play.
And you have more than just casual familiarity with their coach.
Yeah, I have to tell you, he and I go back to the late '80s when we connected, and he's one of my, he and his brother are some of my closest friends. There's probably not a nook and cranny in the United States that I haven't traveled with Frank Serratori. All hockey related and over the years. So I know him very well, and he's been a great fit for Air Force. They're selling out their games now. They're like I said, this is their 7th NCAA tournament since he's been there in his 19 years. He will be a Hall of Fame coach at the Air Force Academy when he's all done. The thing he tells you, he doesn't want to quit coaching. He says he's having a blast right now.
Coach, before we let you go, I'm going to go off the board a little bit here and just ask you, what's up with your Twitter account? You never tweet anything.
Yeah, I know, because I tweeted once a couple of years ago and someone ripped me on it, so I said so I didn't tweet anymore.
God bless you. I agree 100%. Trolls.
And I don't want to come off as an old guy, but I enjoy following it, and I'll go on once in a while, and maybe I've got a. I'll pick up the phone and call you when I want to talk to you. I'm kind of old-fashioned. I do text and I'll call you.
Coach,
Speaking for those of us who are old guys, God bless you, Coach.